Well, this final meeting here at Brands Hatch heralds the start of the silly season when riders change places and speculation is rife. Reigning champion John Reynolds crashed out heavily here on Friday and has since announced his retirement. So John and Rizla Suzuki are parted forever. Michael Rutter has learned that he no longer has a job at HM Plant Honda. The motorcycle press has been quoted as saying he's too old, too slow and too expensive. Will Carl Harris replace Rutter in the HM Plant Honda team for next year? Has he done enough on the UK Honda Dunlop-backed machine? Shane Byrne has been linked with a return to Paul Bird's Eddie Stobart Honda team. Maybe there's not a job for him in MotoGP after all. At Airways Ducati, the good news is they're back, and so is Leon Haslam. They have signed him, and he will have a full season, maybe with a view to lifting the title. But the big question mark is, will Lavilla stay? There are no decisions taken and no firm news in that direction. Obviously, some announcements are imminent. After a season-long war of attrition, the fight for the 2005 Bennett's British Superbike crown is to be decided in the final two races of the season. It's Keogh versus Lavilla. Well, 20 laps then, a huge crowd here for this big finale. The 25th and 26th races on today's programme. Pole position man James Hayden for Rizla Suzuki. Then it's Leon Haslam. Then it's Carl Harris, number 9. And the champion designate, all he's got to do then is improve considerably on that 13-point lead. This man, the Spaniard, 13 points he has over the man sitting in 10th place down on row 3, Ryoichi Kianari. The revs rise, watch the lights, and it will be a hectic dash to Paddock Hill Bend. 25 riders sorting themselves out, but it's a Ducati 1-2. The Rizla Suzuki of James Hayden slotting into 3rd, but round the outside going a green Hawk Kawasaki looked like Dean Thomas, the Australian. Yes, it is indeed, at Druids. Thomas in 3rd, his teammate Glenn Richards going a little bit wide, Hayden in 4th. A great start by James Hayden from pole position, but not as good, Roger Burnett, as he would have expected from pole position.
Not at all, but great to see the two Airwaves boys out in front. Carl Harris is back in 12th place off the front row of the grid, and he's in all sorts of trouble. There were elbows coming out into Paddock Bend, there were feet coming off the footrest down through Graham Hill, but he needs to settle himself down. It's still a long way to go, 20-lap race this one, but it's Haslam out in front from Lavilla, and Lavilla is the championship leader. Then it's the green Hawk Kawasaki of Dean Thomas, then it's your pole position man James Hayden, and behind him the second Hawk Kawasaki, so the Kawasaki's running really strong.
Well, Lavilla has one hand on the title already, but let's not predict the outcome of this race, because in motorcycle racing, anything can happen, and almost invariably does. A big twitch from James Hayden, but he's lining up on the back of Dean Thomas, the blue bike, the Rizla Suzuki. Now, really, the responsibility of that team resting with James Hayden since that announcement by John Reynolds and that big crash which broke ribs, punctured a lung, broke a collarbone, and the 40-year-old Suzuki rider has decided to call it a day. Our thoughts and best wishes go to John Reynolds lying in his hospital bed, and Carl Harris out in an almighty crash. That was an HRC true factory bike running in the red and yellow Dunlop BLD livery. That is Honda's chance to say to Harris, come on, show us what you can do on a proper bike, and he put it on the front row, but regrettably he's now put it in the gravel. Oh, down goes Richards, number 75, Glenn Richards, off and out. He's on his feet, he'll have to do it all again in race 2, but the Australian lying 5th in the championship has had a good season.
He's had a great season, and it's disappointing to see him fall down, and that was just a simple front-end breakaway. Well, Carl Harris, back to him. He was quickest in the warm-up this morning, did have a lot to prove, and Hayden goes up the inside there of Thomas, and that's a threatening, really forceful move from James Hayden. It's great to see him back in form. I do like to watch his riding. He's so exciting. Robert Wicks there, the new team manager for the Rizla Suzuki concern. But Hayden is so exciting when he's on form. It's great to see.
Well, Michael Rutter and Ryoichi Kianari, the two HM Plant riders, are back there in 5th and 6th respectively, and there are some who say that Kianari flaps a little bit when he's under pressure, but we've seen his racecraft improve over the weeks as Lavilla goes to the front. Haslam went wide. Was that deliberate? Clearly Leon Haslam is under very strict orders not to impede the progress of his teammate, number 36. And now Lavilla, number 36, on the Airwaves Ducati, is on for 25 points.
Well, this looked like to me a definite move by Haslam. He didn't really go in there too quick, not too hot at all. But oh, there's James Buckingham, so that's the Rizzler Suzuki of Buckingham. Well, he was standing in for John Reynolds, and that's him out. Well, Hayden is holding a lot of responsibility here now for Rizzler Suzuki, and whoa, was that the curse or what? And that's about as close as it gets, Barry, without actually crashing.
And the most amazing thing is that he retained his place, but he lost the back end. He was out of the seat, came back down on the footrests, has composed himself. Dean Thomas will have seen that and could not quite capitalise on it. Still, unbelievably, Hayden is in third. Chianari has got his act together. The number 6, HM Plant Honda, now closing as the Rizzler Suzuki slides the rear end out of clearways, approaching Paddock Hill Bend, still defending that line, holding third place. Dean Thomas now coming under increasing pressure from Chianari. It's a 4-horse race for a third place and the final rostrum position, because let's face it, Roger, the two Airwaves Ducatis appear to be away with it.
Oh, Tommy Hill losing the front end there into Druids. Well, young Tommy Hill, we saw him win at Cadwell Park earlier this year for the Virgin Mobile Yamaha. Very disappointing with him. Yes, the Airwaves Ducatis are away at the front with it, but this is where the excitement is, because Chianari's got to get past Dean Thomas, the green bike, in order to keep this championship alive and take it to the second race this afternoon.
Well, James Hayden is doing a great job for Dunlop and a great job for Airwaves Ducati, albeit he's on a Rizzler Suzuki, because he's keeping Thomas and he's keeping Chianari at bay, despite that very, very close moment at this point when he threw himself out of the seat. But Chianari then up to fourth, underneath Dean Thomas, but Thomas is riding so well, I don't think we've seen the last of the Australian yet. Michael Rutter is still very much in touch. He's watching what's happening. Michael Rutter too is riding for a job, because he's been told he no longer has a job with HM Plant Honda, so he is in the shop window. There are some who have said that Michael Rutter is past his sell-by date. I personally don't subscribe to that. There's an awful lot of experience and talent under Michael Rutter's crash helmet, and he will be riding for a job for 2006, almost certainly in the British Superbike Championship, as indeed will his young present teammate Ryoichi Chianari, who's lining up. Hayden then for this rostrum position, making a move on the inside. Hayden just lets the brakes off. Chianari runs wide, and Thomas comes underneath him again. I said I didn't think we'd seen the last of the number 12 Green Meanie, and that just underlined the statement.
Well, Chianari then was too much of a gentleman, I have to say. He got the line from Hayden. He really should have made it count, but he let Hayden come across the front of him, and the 22-year-old Japanese with the typical Japanese culture, and Chianari now is back on the inside of Thomas, not really taking too much time to pass him back, but that Japanese culture came into play there, and he really is a bit too polite for this tough world of Bennett's British Superbike.
Either that, or he didn't have confidence in the front end to turn it in as hard as he might have liked to at Paddock Hill. It does drop away. It's adverse camber. Taddy Okada, his crew chief, and the mentor, really, from Japan, former Grand Prix runner, watching Chianari. He'll be back next season, Ryoichi Chianari. He's just 22 years of age, a very bright future for him. He's destined for MotoGP. He's one of Honda's golden boys, but he's unable to do anything seemingly about the Rizzler Suzuki of James Hayden, who has given us so much entertainment over the years. And talking of entertainment, what about these two? The champion designate. This will put it virtually out of reach. 25 points then go to Lavilla. Race 1, Haslam follows him home, doing a fantastic team job. Talking of team, there is the team manager. Hayden does get that third. He fends off that determined rush from Chianari, and Robert Wicks, the first to congratulate Colin Wright. Lavilla celebrating on his victory lap. A lot of Spanish here supporting him, and there the result confirmed. Haslam, Hayden, Chianari fourth, Thomas, Rutter, Mason, Steve Plater for Hydrex Honda, a very solid eighth. He's getting better. Is there more to come from him? McWilliams ninth, Ray Laverty smart, Ben Wilson, and the top cup privateer, Marty Nutt. 25 points now the gap. What it means is that Chianari must win race 2, Lavilla must not score in order to lose the title.